The California High-Speed Rail Project is an ambitious infrastructure endeavor aiming to create the first true high-speed rail system in the United States. Conceived to connect the state's major urban centers, primarily San Francisco and Los Angeles, Anaheim, at speeds of up to 220 miles per hour, the project envisions significantly reducing intercity travel times. The project was initially authorized by California voters in 2008 through Proposition 1A, which approved $9 billion in bonds as seed money. The overarching goal was to provide a fast, environmentally friendly alternative to air and car travel, alleviate congestion, stimulate economic development, and create jobs. The full Phase 1 system was planned to be approximately 494 miles long, with a future Phase 2 extending to Sacramento and San Diego. However, the project has been plagued by delays, massive cost overruns, and management issues since its inception. The initial estimated cost of around $33 billion has ballooned to projections of up to $128 billion for Phase 1. Despite these challenges, construction has been ongoing since 2015, primarily focused on an initial operating segment, IOS, in the Central Valley, specifically a 171-mile stretch between Merced and Bakersfield. While construction on civil structures has progressed, high-speed track laying has yet to commence. The recent revocation of $4 billion in federal funding by the U.S. Department of Transportation, announced on July 16, 2025, marks a significant setback. The federal government cited the project's repeated failures to meet its obligations, including missed deadlines, substantial funding gaps, and questionable ridership projections, as reasons for the termination. This decision has been met with strong opposition from California officials who plan to sue the federal government, arguing the termination is politically motivated and illegal. The future of the California High-Speed Rail Project, particularly its ability to complete the full San Francisco to Los Angeles route, now faces increased uncertainty. The U.S. Department of Transportation, USDAOT, revoked $4 billion in federal funding for the California High-Speed Rail Project, primarily due to repeated failures to meet project obligations, significant delays, and massive cost overruns. The Federal Railroad Administration, FRA, an agency within USDOT, conducted a comprehensive compliance review and identified 9 key findings that led to the termination of the grant agreements. Significant delays and missed deadlines. The project has consistently fallen behind schedule. The FRA concluded that the California High-Speed Rail Authority, CHSRA, has no viable path to complete even the initial operating segment, EOS, between Merced and Bakersfield by its committed deadline of December 31, 2033. Substantial cost overruns. The estimated cost of the project has ballooned dramatically from an initial $33 billion to projections as high as $128 billion for Phase 1. The FRA specifically cited a $7 billion funding gap to complete the Merced-Bakersfield segment alone, with no credible plan from CHSRA to secure these additional funds. Lack of progress in key areas. Despite some construction on civil structures, the FRA highlighted that no high-speed track has been laid in 16 years since the project's inception. Missed procurement deadlines. The CHSRA has missed its deadlines for finalizing the procurement of rolling stock, the trains themselves. Reliance on volatile funding sources. The project's reliance on non-federal funding sources, such as California's cap-and-trade program, was deemed volatile and a significant project risk by the FRA. Inadequate budget contingency. The FRA found that the project's budget contingency was insufficient to cover anticipated contractor delay claims. Overrepresented ridership projections. The FRA determined that CHSRA had substantially overrepresented its ridership projections for the initial operating segment, questioning the project's long-term financial viability. Inability to electrify EOS. The project lacks the time and money to electrify the initial operating segment by the 2033 deadline. Overall mismanagement and incompetence. The USDOT and Trump administration officials have publicly labeled the project a boondoggle and attributed its failures to mismanagement and incompetence on the part of CHSRA and California's leadership. California officials, however, contend that the revocation is politically motivated and illegal, arguing that they have met their obligations and that the FRA's findings are based on distorted data. The revocation of $4 billion in federal funding for the California high-speed rail project carries significant consequences for the project's future, the state's infrastructure, and the relationship between California and the federal government. Financial setback and project delays. The most immediate consequence is a substantial funding gap. While federal funding has constituted less than a quarter of the project's overall budget, $4 billion is a critical sum, especially given the project's already soaring costs and existing funding shortfalls. This loss will likely lead to further delays in construction, as the California High-Speed Rail Authority, CHSRA, must now identify alternative funding sources or scale back its plans. Even if a future administration restores funding, reissuing contracts for essential components like trains and electrical systems could take years, extending the project timeline. Impact on jobs and economy. Governor Gavin Newsom and other California officials have warned that the funding cut will be a heartless attack on the Central Valley that will jeopardize thousands of jobs and livelihoods. The project has already created approximately 15,000 jobs, and slowing or halting construction could result in significant job losses, impacting local economies that have relied on the project's development. Legal and political battles. California has swiftly responded by filing a lawsuit against the federal government, characterizing the funding revocation as politically motivated and illegal. This legal battle will add another layer of complexity and cost to the already beleaguered project. It also signifies an escalation of tensions between the Trump administration and California's leadership, reflecting broader political divisions, increased uncertainty, and public skepticism. The revocation further increases uncertainty surrounding the project's completion. Public and political faith in the high-speed rail has already been damaged by years of delays and cost overruns. This latest setback could intensify public skepticism and make it even harder for the CHSRA to secure future funding, whether from state bonds, private investment, or future federal appropriations. It also raises questions about the viability of other large-scale infrastructure initiatives in the U.S. that rely on a combination of federal and state funding. The loss of $4 billion in federal funding presents a significant challenge for the California high-speed rail project. While there's no single magic bullet, the solutions and predictions revolve around securing alternative funding, streamlining the project, and navigating intense political and legal battles. Solutions and strategies. The California High-Speed Rail Authority, or CHSRA, and state officials are pursuing several strategies to mitigate the impact of the funding cut. First, legal action. California has already filed a lawsuit against the federal government, arguing that the termination of funds is illegal and politically motivated. The outcome of this legal battle will be crucial in determining if any of the revoked funds can be recovered. Second, increased state funding. Governor Gavin Newsom has proposed dedicating $1 billion annually to the project from California's cap-and-trade program through 2045. This state-level commitment aims to provide a more stable funding stream, though it still falls short of the immediate $4 billion gap. Third, private sector investment. The CHSRA is actively seeking private sector partners and investors. They plan to issue a request for expressions of interest to engage with potential partners for future phases, exploring opportunities like monetizing assets, transit-oriented development, and leasing certain infrastructure components. Fourth, project optimization and efficiency. The CHSRA is undertaking a comprehensive review of its design criteria, scope, cost, procurement strategy, and schedule to improve cost-effectiveness and efficiency. This includes refining procurement processes, executing master agreements with local governments, and potentially revising the design criteria manual. Predictions. Prolonged legal battle. The lawsuit between California and the federal government is likely to be a protracted legal process, with no immediate resolution. The outcome could set a precedent for future federal-state infrastructure funding disputes. Further delays. Despite efforts to find alternative funding, the project will almost certainly face further delays in its overall completion. The initial operating segment between Merced and Bakersfield is currently projected to be completed between 2031 and 2033, but this could be pushed back. The full San Francisco to Los Angeles route, originally targeted for 2029, now faces even greater uncertainty and a much later completion date, potentially extending to 2045 for the Gilroy to Palmdale segment with private capital. Scaled back ambitions. Without substantial and sustained funding, the project's full scope may be scaled back. The immediate focus will remain on completing the Central Valley segment, but connecting to the Bay Area and Los Angeles may require significant compromises or be deferred indefinitely if adequate funding cannot be secured. Increased reliance on state and private funds. California will become increasingly dependent on its own revenue sources, like cap and trade, and private investment to keep the project moving forward. Federal funding, especially under the current administration, will remain unreliable. Continued political scrutiny. The project will continue to be a political lightning rod, with ongoing criticism from opponents regarding its cost, delays, and viability. This will make it challenging for the CHSRA to maintain public and political support. Let me know if you'd like this as an audio file or turned into a voiceover.